Hey, this is Paul at Gremlin Machine Shop and Barbarian Electronics. Today I'm working on a Rivera era Fender Concert, sometimes called a Concert 2, as in Roman numeral 2, but it's really just a Fender Concert. And these are similar to the Princeton 2 and Super Champ of the era in that it has, on the lead channel, it has a pull mid boost, and it has two gain controls. So it has a preamp volume, and a gain control, then the master for your level. And if you pull the mid boost and crank the treble, you can get classic heavy metal level gain. A lot of people complain about the gain structure on these, but I like it. But I also play heavy metal. I recapped the doghouse, which right now I'll put up. All right, here's a look under the doghouse of the Fender Concert. Went with F&T 220 microfarad, 300 volt caps for the main filters. Mod does not make them in that value. And went with mod caps for the rest. Stuck with the 70 microfarad in these two positions here, but mod only makes 350 volt, but they do fit, so it's no problem. And then 20 microfarad, 20 micro, 20 micro, and upgraded the bias filter to 100 microfarad, 100 volt. Again, went with Vachet PR02 series replacement resistors. There's one under there, the 220K. And something else is, this amp on the benchtop readily picked up RF until I put the V1 tube shield on, and that basically eliminated all the RF that was coming out of the speaker at that point. See, I don't even have tube shields on the last four, and it was really silent, really quiet. So be sure that you're using at least a tube shield on V1. But, you know, I would just stick with all of them if you can. Here's a look at the inside of the concert after the work that I've done. So, electrolytic recap. So all the cathode bypass caps, there were 6 of them. There's number 6. And then the preamp filters, upgraded those to 8 microfarad instead of the factory 4. It gives a little better filtering, and they're readily available, this mod brand or MOD. And they're really good. One major thing to do, similar to redoing the Super Champ, is rebuilding this little power supply section. So this is a 47R resistor, and I think it's only half watt factory. So I put in PR02 series Vachet, which are 2 watt, even though they're kind of sized like little half watters, and they are rated for 500 volts. So these are perfect in here, in my opinion. So upgraded the 47R. Somebody had replaced it with a 22 ohm resistor, and it looked like maybe it failed, and then they jumpered across it, which to me is not a good thing. So it ended up cooking. This is supposed to be a 3.9K resistor. I didn't have that, so I paralleled a 6.8K and a 10K to get about 4K, which is totally fine. But once somebody jumpered this, my speculation is that it kind of cooked this resistor, and it started floating up out of spec. It was getting at like 4.3K, which is right on the edge of 10%. So I went ahead and changed those. And then for posterity's sake, I changed the little rectifier diode to a ultra fast 4007. And yeah, that's everything I did to that little board. It'll run a little bit cooler that way. The screen resistors were out of spec. They were getting around 540 ohms. So put little 3 watters in there. The nice Vachet Draloric, I think it's called. Dra something. Anyway, Got 3-watt 470R resistors on the screens. The grid resistors still tested good, the 1.5 case. This is not a bias pot, it's an output tube balance pot. Now, I did use it to balance the output tubes, even though they were matched. I made them match perfectly, and I left that. You could easily change that to a bias adjust pot, but I think it's biased fine the way it is, so I didn't go that far with it. And the sound check proved that everything was working great. All the switching options, so the back trolls were all good. All the switching options worked. The only thing I've yet to test is the reverb, so I'll get to that. And then the other power related resistors that I changed are these two right here. There's a 10K, which is a big 1-watt carbon comp stock. I upgraded that to Vishay PR03, so a 3-watt, again 500 volt rated Vishay, and it's elevated off the board some, just like it was factory. Not that you're in danger of making a conductive board or anything, but you know, just to keep it kind of factory. And then there was I think it was might have been a 1-watt, actually that might have been 2-watt before. Anyway, it's 3-watt now. And then I think this was maybe a 1-watt 47K, and I changed that to a PR02 series Vishay. So it's a 2-watt 47K. It had drifted out of spec. It was at about 54K. And all the other ones, you know, the cathode resistors and the plate resistors were all really spot on, which bodes well for all of them. So it's mainly, you know, the high voltage resistors that you want to check out primarily. And, you know, like I said, the power supply little terminal strip board down here. This 20-watt resistor, I think it can be removed. It's just going to be generating heat in here, but it's not causing problems. So I'm just kind of leaving it alone just to stay factory. I don't think it's necessary though. Yeah, this thing sound checked great. I did need to tighten all the hardware. So right now I have all the knobs removed, and you know, the jacks were loose, and the speaker jacks were a little loose and everything, and you really want to be sure those reverb jacks and everything are tight so that they have good chassis ground where it's needed and all of that. So yeah, that's a Fender Concert. Full restoration, and it sounds awesome. Clean channel's great, and I love the dirty channel on these Rivera eras. A lot of people complain about it, but I think it's like probably Strat, you know, single coil blues players and stuff that don't like it, which I totally understand. And they're probably not pulling the mids pot boost and turning the treble up to kind of, you know, I'm using it for really high gain. So I could see, you know, the complaints on it for like mid gain stuff. Maybe it's not voiced quite right for what people are used to in that regard, but I love these. So it's great. Y'all have a good day. Check us out at gremlinmachineshop.com, barbarianelectronics.com, and Moon Music Pro. That's the shop I work at. So y'all have a good one. And lastly, here's the amplifier put back together. I did adjust the hum balance to minimize noise at idle. You know, you are welcome to replace that with a virtual center tap, you know, 100R resistors to ground, and eliminate the possibility of that pot going bad. It is a safer thing to do. This one's upgraded with a 75-watt creamback, which is, you know, it's kind of a special one. It's 10 watts higher than a normal creamback, and it does sound really good. So that's pretty much it for this one. It's going back to the customer today, and we'll see what he thinks.